I was holding my wife's hand when the FedEx envelope arrived at our Dublin hotel room. Kate had just finished her second round of chemotherapy at St. Vincent's Hospital, and her fingers felt cold and fragile in mine. The envelope was from Austin, Texas, marked urgent. I almost didn't open it. When I did, I started laughing. Not the good kind. The kind that comes when reality becomes so absurd that your brain short-circuits. Kate looked at me with those gray eyes that had gotten so much clearer since the cancer, like the illness had burned away everything except what mattered. "What is it?" she asked. "I'm being sued," I said, "for embezzling $380,000 from BrightPath Solutions." I handed her the first page. Between January and June of this year. She read it slowly. Her oncologist said the chemo was affecting her processing speed, but she was still sharper than most people I knew. "But we've been here since December," she said finally. "Exactly. My name is Michael Brennan. I'm 62 years old. I spent 35 years climbing from junior accountant to CFO before retiring from BrightPath Solutions in November 2023, the company I helped build from 8 employees to a $50 million valuation. The company where I'd mentored David Chen from fresh MBA grad to CEO. The company I thought I'd left on good terms. Kate and I had moved to Dublin on December 18th, 2023, 3 days after her stage 3 diagnosis. Her mother's family was Irish, and she'd always said if anything happened, she wanted to be treated here, where the air smelled like rain and peat smoke. I'd sold our house in Austin, liquidated what investments hadn't already gone into medical care, and we'd come. 9 months and counting. I had the passport stamps to prove it. The lawsuit was 47 pages long. It claimed I'd made 23 unauthorized wire transfers from BrightPath's operating accounts to a shell company in the Cayman Islands. The transfers ranged from $8,000 to $45,000. Each one small enough to avoid immediate red flags but large enough to add up. $380,000 total. The dates were specific: January 9th, February 3rd, March 12th, and on through June 18th. Every single one had happened while I was 3,000 miles away, watching my wife fight for her life. The evidence looked damning. Screenshots of wire transfers initiated from my old company email. Digital signatures that matched my authorized signature on file. Transaction logs showing the transfers originated from IP addresses in Austin. The lawsuit named me personally and sought full restitution plus damages, putting my potential liability over $500,000. Kate fell asleep an hour later, exhausted from the treatment. I sat by the window overlooking the Liffey River and went through our records. Bank statements, credit card transactions, flight confirmations, everything that proved we'd been here continuously since December. The passport was particularly useful. Irish immigration had stamped it on entry, and we'd filed the proper paperwork for extended medical stay. I hadn't left Ireland once in 9 months. I called David Chen at 3 a.m. Dublin time, which was 9 p.m. "In Austin," he answered on the second ring. "Michael," he said. His voice was tight. "I was hoping you'd call. David, what the hell is this?" "I wish I knew. The board brought it to my attention 3 weeks ago during our quarterly audit. Jennifer Walsh, our VP of Finance, found the discrepancies." Jennifer Walsh. I'd never met her. David had hired her 6 months after I left, brought her over from some fintech company in San Francisco. "David, I've been in Ireland since December. I haven't even logged into my old company email. The digital forensics team says otherwise. Your credentials, your signature authorization, your email address, it's all in the system logs. Then someone's using my credentials. Have you considered that?" There was a pause. "Michael, I want to believe you, but the board is demanding action. The evidence is overwhelming. My hands are tied." "Your hands are tied? I helped build this company. I mentored you. I was the one who convinced the board to make you CEO." My voice was rising. Kate stirred in her sleep. I lowered it. "I'm 3,000 miles away watching my wife die, and you're telling me your hands are tied?" Another pause. "I'm sorry about Kate. Truly. But this is business. If you didn't do it, prove it." He hung up. I didn't sleep that night. Kate woke up at dawn and found me at the laptop, surrounded by printouts. "You need to hire a lawyer," she said. "A good one." "We can't afford a good one. We're barely affording your treatment." "Then hire any lawyer. Michael, you can't fight this alone." She was right. I found Rebecca Torres through a colleague's recommendation. She was an attorney in Austin specializing in white-collar defense, and her initial consultation fee was $500. I couldn't spare it, but I couldn't afford not to. Rebecca listened to my story for 40 minutes without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Brennan, do you still have access to your company email?" "I don't think so. They should have deactivated it when I retired." "Try logging in. Right now." I did. The login page came up. I entered my old credentials, expecting an error message. Instead, it went through. My inbox loaded. Thousands of unread emails going back to December. "It's still active," I said, shocked. "That's our first problem," Rebecca said. "If your account was never properly deactivated, anyone with your credentials could have accessed it." "What about your digital signature?" "It was biometric, tied to a security fob that I returned on my last day." "Do you have documentation of that return?" I thought back. "I signed a release form. The IT department should have it." "Good. I need you to get me everything. Your passport with all stamps, bank statements, credit card records, medical appointment logs, anything that proves continuous presence in Ireland. Also, I need to know who has had access to your old systems." Over the next week, I became an amateur detective. I pulled our credit card statements and highlighted every transaction. Groceries in Dublin. Pharmacy in Dublin. Kate's medical appointments. Restaurants near the hospital. Not a single transaction in the United States since December 17th. When I'd filled up the rental car before dropping it at Austin Bergstrom Airport, I contacted Aer Lingus and got copies of our boarding passes. I requested our entry stamp records from Irish immigration. I even got a letter from Kate's oncologist, Dr. Siobhan Murphy, confirming her treatment dates and that I'd been present at every appointment. 416 pieces of documentation. I counted them. Rebecca filed our response on August 30th. It was 73 pages, including 89 exhibits. The cover letter was blunt. Mr. Brennan was in Ireland during every alleged transaction. He could not have initiated these transfers. Someone else accessed his credentials and signatures to frame him. 2 days later, David Chen's lawyers called requesting a meeting. Rebecca advised against going to Austin, too risky with an active lawsuit, but we could do a video deposition. We scheduled it for September 15th. The night before the deposition, Kate had a bad episode. Fever spiking to 103. We spent 6 hours in emergency at St. Vincent's. They admitted her for observation. Got the fever under control with antibiotics, but she was weak. I almost canceled the deposition. "Go," she said from the hospital bed. "Clear your name. I'll be here when you're done." The video call started at 2 p.m., Irish time. On screen, I could see David, his attorney Marcus Reed, Jennifer Walsh, and 2 other board members I recognized. Rebecca sat beside me in the hotel business center. Marcus Reed led the questioning. "Where was I on January 9th? Showing Kate around Trinity College campus between medical appointments. February 3rd? At her chemo treatment. March 12th? He went through each date. I had an answer for every single one, backed by credit card receipts, photos, medical records. "Mr. Brennan," Marcus said finally, "your documentation is compelling. But it doesn't explain how these transfers were made using your credentials." "Because someone else made them," I said. "Someone who had access to my old account and signature authorization." "Who?" "That's what you need to find out." Jennifer Walsh spoke for the first time. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with sharp features and careful makeup. "Mr. Brennan, are you suggesting someone at Bright Path framed you?" "I'm suggesting my account was never properly deactivated and someone used it. Whether they meant to frame me specifically or just used convenient credentials, I don't know. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious lawsuit." After 2 hours, Marcus called for a break. I stepped outside to call the hospital. Kate was sleeping. Fever down to 100. I felt the weight of exhaustion settling into my bones. When we resumed, Rebecca dropped the bomb. "I'd like to request access to Bright Path's system logs. Specifically, the IP addresses and login times for all transactions made using Mr. Brennan's credentials." Marcus and David exchanged looks. "That's proprietary information," Marcus said. "Then petition the court for protective order. But if you're confident in your evidence, you should want to examine it further." They agreed, grudgingly. The call ended. Rebecca looked satisfied. Now we wait. The system logs arrived 3 weeks later. 340 pages of technical data. Rebecca hired a digital forensics expert, a former FBI analyst named James Sullivan. He spent 5 days analyzing them. His report was 28 pages long. I understood maybe a quarter of it, but the conclusion was clear. Every transaction using my credentials had originated from an IP address in Austin, specifically from BrightPath's corporate network. More importantly, they'd all occurred during normal business hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. "Look at this," James said during our conference call. He shared his screen. January 9th, transfer initiated at 10:47 a.m. Austin time. That's 4:47 p.m. Dublin time. "What were you doing then?" I checked my calendar. Kate had an appointment with her radiation oncologist at 4:30. "Can you prove it?" I pulled up the appointment reminder email, the parking receipt from the hospital, the credit card charge from the hospital cafe where I'd grabbed coffee afterward. Yes, every single transaction follows this pattern. Business hours in Austin, logged in from inside the corporate network. "Mr. Brennan, someone physically present in BrightPath's office made these transfers using your credentials." Rebecca leaned forward. "Can you tell who?" "The login credentials are Brennan's, but look at this." He pulled up another screen. "The workstation IDs vary. Sometimes it's logged in from computer WS047, sometimes WS089, sometimes WS103. But there's a pattern. These 3 workstations are all in the finance department. Who sits at those workstations?" I asked. James consulted his notes. WS047 is assigned to Jennifer Walsh. WS089 is a shared terminal in the finance workroom. WS103 is. He paused. Also assigned to Jennifer Walsh. Apparently she has a primary desk and a backup. The room went quiet. "That could be coincidence," Rebecca said carefully. "She's the VP of Finance. She'd have legitimate reasons to access multiple terminals." "True," James said. "But look at this. 3 transfers were made, while company records show Jennifer Walsh was logged into the system under her own credentials on a different computer at the exact same time. That's physically impossible unless someone else was using her workstations. Or," I said slowly, "she was using both simultaneously. Her credentials on one machine, my stolen credentials on another." Rebecca nodded. "James, can you trace this further? Find out when Brennan's credentials were first accessed after his retirement?" 2 days later, James called back. December 22nd, 2023. 4 days after Mr. Brennan left Ireland, someone logged into his email account from inside BrightPath's network at 7:34 a.m. They spent 17 minutes in the system, then logged out. After that, the account was accessed 47 more times between then and June. "Can you trace it to a specific workstation?" WS047. Jennifer Walsh's primary computer. Rebecca scheduled an emergency call with Marcus Reed. This time, she opened with the forensics report. "Your VP of Finance has been accessing my client's credentials since December. The wire transfers originated from her workstations. We have documentation proving Mr. Brennan was in Ireland during every transaction. This isn't a case against my client anymore. This is evidence of embezzlement by Jennifer Walsh." Marcus was quiet for a long time. "I need to discuss this with my client." You do that. In the meantime, we're filing a countersuit for defamation, legal fees, and emotional distress." 3 days later, David Chen called me directly. Not through lawyers. His voice sounded hollow. "I need to apologize." "What happened?" "We brought Jennifer in for questioning. She denied everything at first. Then we showed her the forensics report. She broke down." He paused. "She has a gambling problem. Started small, online poker, then sports betting. Then she got into high-stakes games in Dallas. Lost $200,000 in 6 months. She was desperate. So she stole from the company and made it look like I did it. She said you were the perfect scapegoat. Already gone, unlikely to notice, and your account was still active in the system. She didn't think we'd check this carefully. Thought you'd settle rather than fight from Ireland." I felt a surge of anger, but also exhaustion. "What happens now?" "She's been terminated. We've filed criminal charges. The board is voting tomorrow to drop the lawsuit against you and issue a formal apology. We'll cover your legal fees and offer additional compensation for what we put you through. And what about the money she stole? Most of it's gone. Her apartment was nearly empty when police searched it, sold everything to pay gambling debts. We'll recover what we can through criminal proceedings, but... He trailed off. I'm sorry, Michael. I should have believed you. Yeah, I said. You should have. The lawsuit was formally dismissed on October 12th. BrightPath issued a statement taking full responsibility for the regrettable error and announced enhanced security protocols. They offered me $75,000 in compensation, which barely covered Rebecca's fees but was better than nothing. Jennifer Walsh was arrested on October 15th. Bail set at $100,000, which she couldn't make. Her trial is scheduled for March 2025. She's facing 15 years. Kate's cancer responded to the treatment. By November, Dr. Murphy was cautiously optimistic. The tumors are shrinking, she said. We're not out of the woods, but you're heading in the right direction. We stayed in Dublin through Christmas. On New Year's Eve, sitting by the fire in our small apartment near Street Stevens Green, Kate asked me what I'd learned from everything. I thought about it for a long time. That credentials are currency, I said finally. My email, my digital signature, they were tools that could be weaponized. I never thought about it when I was working. You return your badge, your laptop, and you think you're done. But digital access doesn't work that way. What else? That being far away doesn't make you innocent in people's eyes. It makes you vulnerable. Jennifer counted on that. She figured I was too distant, too distracted with you, too broke to fight back properly. She almost got away with it, but she didn't. Because of documentation. Every receipt, every passport stamp, every medical appointment. If we hadn't kept obsessive records, if I couldn't prove where I was every single day. I shook my head. The truth alone wouldn't have been enough. I needed proof of the truth. Kate squeezed my hand. I'm glad you fought. I'm glad you survived. We sat quiet for a while, watching the fire. Outside, Dublin was celebrating. Inside, we had our own quiet victory. Here's what I tell people now when they ask about digital security and protecting yourself. First, when you leave a job, any job, make sure every account is deactivated. Get it in writing. Take screenshots. IT departments make mistakes, and those mistakes can destroy your life. Second, document everything. I mean everything. Credit card statements, receipts, location data, photos, timestamps. It feels paranoid until the day it saves you. In the digital age, your location data is your alibi. Third, understand that technology creates vulnerability. Your email, your signature, your credentials, they can all be stolen and misused. Two-factor authentication isn't paranoia. It's basic protection. Fourth, if you're accused of something you didn't do, fight immediately. Don't wait. Don't hope it goes away. Don't assume truth will win out automatically. The truth needs evidence, and evidence takes time to gather. Fifth, and this one surprised me, trust can be rebuilt, but it's never the same. David and I email occasionally now. Professional, cordial, but I'll never mentor anyone from his company again. I'll never advise them. That bridge didn't burn. It just weathered beyond repair. And finally, the most important thing, priorities clarify under pressure. I was being sued for $350,000. My reputation was destroyed. My former protege had abandoned me, and none of it mattered as much as Kate's next blood test result. When you're sitting in an oncology ward, corporate embezzlement seems very small. I'm 62 years old. Kate is 61. We're back in the States now, living in a small apartment in Portland, Oregon, near her sister, near good hospitals, far from Texas and all those memories. I do some consulting work, enough to pay the bills. Kate's latest scans show no active disease. The word they use is remission, which feels like standing on a frozen lake, knowing the ice is thick but never quite trusting it completely. That lawsuit, those 9 months of fighting, they taught me something essential. In our digital world, your identity is both more permanent and more fragile than you realize. Every login, every signature, every credential is a tool that can be turned against you. But the same technology that makes fraud easy also makes proof possible. Cell tower data, IP addresses, digital timestamps, they don't lie. Jennifer Walsh thought she was clever. using my ghost in the machine to cover her tracks. What she didn't count on was that I'd kept every scrap of paper, every receipt, every record proving I was 3,000 miles away, focused on something infinitely more important than money or reputation. She gambled everything and lost. I fought for my name and won. And Kate, against much longer odds, is still here. That frozen lake we're standing on? Maybe the ice is thicker than it feels. Maybe trust, in the right things and the right people, isn't foolishness. It's just knowing the difference between a gamble and a calculated risk. And after everything, I know which one I'm willing to take.